Lumix finally released the ARRI Log C3 for the full frame cameras, the S1 II, the S1 IIe, and the S1R Mark II. Now, what does this really mean, and is it worth the $200 paid upgrade? And in this video, I'm going to be deep dive into everything that you're going to need to know about the ARRI Log C3 being on a Lumix camera. So let's jump in. To give you guys a little bit of context, if you didn't know, originally back in 2024, ARRI licensed the Log C3 color profile for the GH6 and the GH7. Once again, they are licensing another agreement for the S1 II, the S1R Mark II, and the S1 IIe to have this Log C3 color profile be directly into the camera. And now, this is no color profile that Lumix is making themselves, but to my knowledge, this is ARRI specifically making this log color profile for these Lumix cameras to match their own ARRI Alexa cameras in the Log C3 color space. Now, the question that a lot of people probably are asking, can you just get away using a CST or color space transform? And here's the results. So when I did put these to the test on the S1 II, showing the example of ARRI Log C3 versus Vlog converted to ARRI Log C3, there's still definitely a noticeable difference. On the Vlog footage, it definitely shifted a little bit more towards the greens. Meanwhile, on the ARRI Log C3, it was more towards the magentas. Now, there is a reason why you wouldn't be using a CST in ARRI Log C3 color workspace form, because the color workflow technically is completely different on how you're supposed to properly color ARRI Log C3 footage compared to coloring any other log footage. Color grading any normal log footage like Vlog, S-Log, or any other camera brand, typically you're going to be doing your color corrections, your conversion, and then your color grade at the end. Now, the way that ARRI Log color workflow works is you actually are supposed to have a viewing monitor baked onto your monitor itself. So whatever you're coloring on, showing the full image, should be having a monitoring LUT on that. Then you're going to be doing your corrections, your grade, and then when you export this video, there's going to be a 709 conversion or whatever conversion you are converting your footage at the end of the video. Now, my good friend Dustin Armstrong has an amazing video that is certified by ARRI themselves on the proper color workflow in DaVinci Resolve. So if you're interested, I'm going to leave a link to that right here. Now, ultimately, can you get away with just using a CST though? Yes, you can easily convert your Vlog footage into a ARRI Log C3 and get very similar results. But what I will say, at the end of the day, no matter what log footage you're shooting in, it's typically easier if you're shooting with multiple cameras to be shooting in the same log profile for post-production workflow and not having to constantly be changing your color space transform into a different log profile. It's really hard when you're shooting with 3 different camera brands and 3 different log footages, or just one camera brand that has 3 different log footages. Sony. But if you're shooting on multiple different camera brands and you own multiple different Lumixes already, it's easier to just shoot in Vlog on all those cameras. Since every single camera has Vlog, there might still be a slight change, but it doesn't really make sense if one camera is shooting in ARRI Log C3, the other one's shooting in Vlog, and then your third camera has a completely different log profile. Doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense. Once you pay and get the physical code for your camera, this is what you're going to be wanting to do. You want to plug an SD card directly into your camera, go down to the setup page or the gear wrench. You're going to go down to the 4th page and they're going to click on activate. Once you click activate, you want to export your serial code to your SD card. Take your SD card out and put that into your computer. And then this is where you're going to go to the link that's going to be down in the description if you want to come back to this later on. And then you're going to follow the steps. What you're going to end up doing is inputting your serial ID number so it matches your camera, input the code that you bought in the physical code online, and that's going to allow you to download your activation. Then you're going to take that activation code and put it in the exact same place where your serial ID number got exported to, and then input that SD card into your camera. Go back to the activate page and then press activation, and now you just have to turn off your camera, turn it back on, and you have ARRI Log C3 color profile on your Lumix camera. This only works currently right now for the GH6, GH7, the S1 II, the S1 IIe, and the S1R II. No other cameras like the S9 or the S5 II or the S5 IIX have ARRI Log C3, and I'm 100% honest, I'm not sure if these cameras are going to be getting it anytime soon, because it's already been a year and the S5 II and S5 IIX currently don't have it. Now, there is different dual native ISOs on each of these cameras, but if you are interested in seeing that, there's going to be a link in the description where you can download all the dual native ISOs and settings and values from the various different Lumix cameras. Now I did do a color test between the S12, the S12E, the S1R2, and the GH7 on ARRI Log C3, both on the S12 and the S12E, both in Vlog and in ARRI Log C3, matched very, very similar between both those models. I would say the S12 is a little bit softer and a little bit more warm. Meanwhile, the S12E was just a little bit sharper, but still produced a pretty warm image. In terms of color matching, these are very, very close to identical. Meanwhile, on the S1R Mark II, this image, being an 8K sensor, produced this extra bit of Lumix magic sauce to the image, and it looked the most realistic to reality that I've ever seen on any camera. It looked basically straight from what my eye saw. They looked very, very similar on the S1R Mark II. And then on the GH7, this was the most interesting one because I didn't expect it to be this drastic of a difference, but the GH7 just produced a much, much cooler image than all the other S1 cameras did. It was just a lot cooler in comparison. And again, you can't easily shift your color, but all my settings were the exact same between all the cameras, the exact same white balance, the exact same type of aperture, the exact same focal length, the exact same video settings. Everything was the exact same, but the image on the GH7 produced a much cooler image. Unfortunately, I didn't test the GH6 because I just don't have ARRI Log C3 in my GH6, or I just didn't test it in general. But I would say when I look back at my GH6 versus my GH7, the GH6 definitely produced a softer, warmer looking image, and I much preferred the look of the GH6 over the GH7. And this is seeming like to be the exact same case and scenario on the S12, the S12E, and the S1R Mark II. I preferred that image, the warmer, softer tones that the S1 models are producing over the GH7. Now, I did do another color test in Vlog just to show what the differences are between all four of these cameras, because I always find that interesting, and it produced the very, very similar results. Now, this conversion LUT for Vlog 709 is my own personal LUT. And if you are interested, I do have a Vlog specific LUT pack down in the description to get different types of looks. Now, the last comparison I did want to show is Cinelike A2 versus ARRI Log C3. And I did both these tests on the Lumix S12, and I was actually pretty shocked by the color difference between both these cameras. The Cinelike A2 by no means looked bad. It just seemed like the ARRI Log C3 was producing much, much more natural looking colors to what reality looks like straight out of camera, which I really, really like. Two important things that you really should know about ARRI Log C3 just in general is ARRI Log C3 is designed and meant to be used for ProRes 422 HQ. You can still use this on MOV files like OpenGate 6K or any of the all intra or long GOP settings in these cameras, but ARRI Log C3 is specifically designed to be on a 422 ProRes HQ setting. The second thing that's worth noting, if you do want to shoot in ProRes RAW internally on any of these cameras, you can't view or use the ARRI Log C3 color profile. And this is just honestly due to the fact that all of the video assist tools in this camera is designed for Vlog, and you're shooting at RAW at the end of the day. So you have full flexibility with ProRes RAW too there. Now, is this color profile really worth the upgrade? Well, ultimately, yes and no. If you are interested in learning the proper color workflow that what people are shooting on ARRI Alexa and professional colorists are doing, it could be definitely worth an upgrade just to start testing and playing with that color test. But if you're just shooting in Vlog and all your other cameras are shooting in Vlog, it just makes more sense to have all your camera color profiles be in the exact same color profile. And a big shout out to Lumix himself, because Vlog looks so good and looks so similar to what the ARRI Log C3 color profile looks as is from these cameras, and they look so close and very, very similar, and with only a few tweaks you can get a very similar color and look and feel and design from Vlog itself compared to ARRI Log C3. It is cool though, if ever in the future that I do want to eventually rent out an Alexa or rent out some type of different ARRI camera, then I already have a solid B or C camera in that scenario, especially in interview setups or in commercial setups that I would have with the S1 II. Anyways, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below on if you guys would consider getting this paid upgrade for your Lumix camera. But if you're interested in checking out a video talking about phantom LUTs that convert your vlog footage into ARRI Log C3 footage, well, check out that video right there. YouTube recommends you might like this video right here. Till the next one, guys, peace.